Have you ever stopped to really think about how just one single thing, maybe a choice someone made, or an escape, even a betrayal, how that can send ripples like down through generations, shaping lives across continents, across centuries?
It's a pretty deep thought, isn't it? These sort of invisible threads connecting you to your past.
Mm-hmm.
And as you listen today, just know you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM, designed for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
So today we're diving deep into Yaa Gyasi's amazing debut novel, Homegoing, came out in 2016.
Right.
And it's this incredible sweeping family story, covers generations, it blends history, literary fiction, and it's got this post-colonial perspective woven all through it.
Yeah, and the structure is really interesting, too. It's episodic, right?
Exactly. Each chapter is like a little snapshot, a vignette focusing on one person, but they all add up to this massive, really intricate family story. It's quite something. It almost mirrors how fragmented things become for them.
That's a great way to put it.
So our mission today really is to journey into how this book traces these two parallel family lines spanning 8 generations. Starts with 2 half-sisters back in 18th century Ghana, and they never even know the other exists.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll explore how the book really digs into the lasting legacy of slavery, of colonialism, both for the descendants who stayed in Africa and for those who were taken to America.
So where does it all begin? What's that foundational moment?
It kicks off with this really powerful image, Effia's birth. It happens during this huge fire raging between Fantaland and Asanteland.
Okay.
And the crucial part is both sisters, Effia and Isi, they share the same mother, Mame. She was an enslaved woman. And her escape that very night, driven by the fire, she actually starts, that sets the whole plot in motion.
So her act of escape directly shapes both daughters' fates.
Completely. Mame flees to an Asante village, marries a man named Big Manassar, and that's where she gives birth to Essie. It's this cruel twist that her survival leads one daughter down one path while the other, her path is drastically different.
So tell us about Effia's path then.
Well, Effia, she ends up being raised by a man named Kabi Archer and his wife Baba, who's just incredibly cruel. Effie grows up thinking Baba is her real mother.
Oh, wow.
And Baba, she manipulates things to stop Effia marrying the village chief. Instead, she arranges for her to marry James Collins, the British governor of Cape Coast Castle.
The castle.
Right.
That becomes central.
Absolutely. Now, even though it's arranged, Effia and James actually develop, real affection. They have a son, Kui. But then comes this horrifying discovery for Effia.
The dungeons.
Exactly. She finds out about the slave dungeons right beneath the castle floors where she's living in relative comfort. And her sort of unwitting complicity there, living above that horror, it just casts this huge shadow.
And Essie's story, how does that contrast?
It's a complete contrast. Essie grows up loved, privileged in her Asante village. But her turning point comes from an act of kindness, ironically. She feels compassion for their house slave, Abernoma, and agrees to secretly send word to the girl's father. But this act leads directly to a raid on Acey's own village.
No.
Yeah. Her parents are killed, and Acey herself is captured. She's taken to those same dungeons in Cape Coast Castle.
The ones under where Effia is living.
The very same. And there she suffers horribly. She's raped by a British soldier and then forced onto a ship, sent to America as a slave.
God, the immediate contrast is just devastating.
It is.
And it really sets up that core idea right away, doesn't it?
Oh.
How these huge forces like slavery and colonialism intersect with, these very personal choices and chances, like Isi just trying to be kind.
Exactly.
And you mentioned Mame gave them something.
Yes, that's right. Before they were separated, Mame gave each daughter a blackstone pendant. It becomes their only link, this symbolic connection to their shared heritage, even though they don't know it. It hints at that theme of lineage running through everything. So from that point, the book just masterfully weaves back and forth between the two lines. Let's follow Effia's descendants in Africa first.
Okay, the African line.
We start with Kwei. He's Effia and James's son, biracial. And he really struggles with his identity, Doesn't feel like he fully belongs in Ghana or in London.
That makes sense. Caught between two worlds.
Right. And he carries this heavy burden because he reluctantly continues the family's involvement in the slave trade. That inherited complicity is a huge part of his story.
Inherited complicity, wow.
And he ends up marrying Nana Yaa, who's an Asante king's daughter, but she herself had been kidnapped by Kwei's uncle, so it's all just deeply tangled.
The knots just keep tightening. Who comes after Kwei?
Next is Kwei's son, James Richard. He falls for a woman named Akosua, and she fiercely condemns his family's role in slavery.
Point of conflict.
Big time. So much so that James actually fakes his own death to escape an arranged marriage and, run away from that whole legacy, hoping to be with Akosua.
He fakes his death. Wow. The lengths people go to for freedom, even from family expectations.
Totally. And then you have James's daughter, Abina. Her story is quite sad, too. Her lover, Ohene Nyarko, abandons her because he chooses to marry someone else for basically economic advancement. Leaves her pregnant. Oh, no. So she's left alone.
Yeah, she ends up seeking refuge at a missionary station. And it really brings up that question, how economic pressures can just crush personal freedom and loves.
Definitely. That's a recurring tension.
Then there's Akua, Abina's daughter, born at the mission. She's haunted by these terrifying nightmares of a firewoman holding two babies.
The fire motif again.
Exactly. It comes back in this really tragic way. Akua, in her sleep, accidentally sets her hut on fire. She kills her two daughters and badly scars her son, Yaa.
Oh, that's horrific.
It is. And that fire, it symbolizes so much destruction, yes, but maybe also this terrible kind of rebirth. It becomes this haunting reminder for Effie's line of their family's complicated, sometimes destructive past.
And Yaa, the son who survives. Yaa grows up with those scars, physical and emotional. He becomes a teacher. Eventually, he does reconcile with his mother, Akua, after she finally tells him the truth about their family history. There's a moment of maybe understanding there.
A difficult conversation, I imagine.
No doubt. And the line concludes, for the book's main timeline, with Yaa's daughter, Marjorie. She moves to America. And significantly, she inherits her grandmother Akua's fear of fire.
Wow, so the trauma is passed down even generations later.
Vividly shown. It's a really clear example of how that trauma gets transmitted.
Okay, so that's Effie's line in Africa. Now let's cross the Atlantic.
Right. Let's shift to Essie's descendants and their experiences in America. It's a very different kind of struggle, but just as profound.
So we start with Ness, Easy's daughter.
Yes, Ness. Her life is just marked by tragedy. She's forced to marry another slave, Sam. They have a son, Kojo. They try desperately to escape, but they're caught. Sam is lynched. And Ness is subjected to this just brutal whipping, leaving scars she carries forever.
Just harrowing. What happens to the son, Kojo?
Kojo, who often goes by Joe, actually manages to escape later. With help from a woman named Aku. He makes it to Baltimore.
Find some freedom.
For a time. He works as a deckhand, marries a woman named Anna, but then the Fugitive Slave Act passes.
So freedom was always precarious.
Always. Anna disappears, taken by a white man, and Joe is forced to flee again, this time ending up in New York. It just hammers home how even escaping slavery didn't mean true freedom or safety. The system kept reaching.
Relentless. Who follows Joe?
Next is H. Joe's son. He's born on a plantation. After the Civil War, he tries to make a life as a sharecropper.
So post-emancipation, but still facing challenges.
Huge challenges, because then he gets arrested. The charge, simply looking at a white woman.
Just looking.
That's it, a completely flimsy pretext. And he's forced into labor in coal mines. Convict leasing.
So slavery by another name.
Exactly. The book shows so clearly how the oppression just shapeshifted. It didn't disappear. It evolved into things like the convict lease system, trapping black men in forced labor through the legal system.
It's infuriating. And H's daughter.
H's daughter is Willie. She has dreams of being a singer. But her husband, who is very light-skinned, abandons her and their son, Carson. He leaves to pass as white.
Oh, that's another kind of betrayal. Heartbreaking.
It really is. So Willie is left struggling, raising Carson alone, working menial jobs.
And Carson. What's his story?
Carson, who also goes by Sonny, he struggles with heroin addiction for a long time. But he does eventually get sober, especially after he learns the truth about why his father left.
Learning the truth helps him heal.
It seems to be part of it, yeah. And then we get to Carson's son, Marcus. He breaks the cycle in a way, goes to college, studies history at Stanford.
Stanford, okay, I see where this might be going.
Exactly, because it's at Stanford where Marcus eventually meets Marjorie.
Effie's descendant.
Right. Unknowingly linking these two family lines that split apart centuries and continents ago.
Wow. That's incredible. Such intricate weaving.
It really is. And, thinking about these deep connections, these complex threads across time, it's actually a good moment to mention Mindful Moments. That's our YouTube channel.
Ah, yes.
It offers AI-powered book analysis, really aimed at inspiring reflection and, rational thought. It's a fantastic place to dive even deeper into complex books like Homegoing.
Definitely a great resource for unpacking these kinds of narratives.
So we've traced these two lines, seen their struggles, their moments of hope and despair. As we look at the whole picture, what would you say is maybe the biggest theme holding it all together?
Well, I think a huge one has to be that connection between heritage and identity. You see it constantly, right? Characters wrestling with where they fit in history, how they relate to their ancestors they might not even know about.
Right.
And that black stone pendant Mam gave them. It's
Yeah.
like a powerful symbol of that. It represents this like enduring link between the generations, even across the ocean, pulling them back towards that shared past.
And what about the weight of that past, the trauma?
Oh, absolutely. Intergenerational trauma is just fundamental to the book. Gyasi shows so compellingly how the horrors of slavery and colonialism don't just affect the people who live through them, they ripple downwards.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how she uses symbols for this. Like you said, fire haunts Afia's line, Akua's tragedy, Marjorie's fear. It represents that destructive past, maybe even their complicity. While for Isi's line, it's often water, boats, the Middle Passage, Ness's escape attempts, the ocean separating them. It symbolizes that forced displacement, the journey, the loss. It makes the trauma feel really tangible.
And she doesn't sugarcoat the history at all, does she? The sheer brutality of it all.
Not one bit. The book is unflinching about colonization and slavery.
Yeah.
But it avoids being just a history lesson because, like one critic said, Gyasi makes history visceral.
How does she do that, do you think?
By showing it all through these incredibly personal stories, you feel the impact on Afia, on Asi, on Ness, on H. You see how these massive, brutal systems crush individual lives and shape choices. It forces you, the reader, to really confront it.
And with all that displacement and suffering, the idea of home must be pretty complicated.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
That's another huge theme. What is home? Where do I belong? Every single character is grappling with this in some way.
Right.
Whether it's Afia in that gilded cage of a castle, or Kui feeling like an outsider everywhere, or Isi yearning for her lost village, or Joe searching for a safe place in America. They're all searching.
Yeah.
Both family lines, across centuries, they're looking for a sense of place, of identity. Gyasi really shows that home isn't just, a building or a location. It's memory, it's ancestry, it's finding peace with who you are.
And one of the most powerful things for me is how the book shows slavery didn't just end. It changed form.
Yes, that's crucial. It traces that evolution of systemic oppression so clearly. It's not just slavery, then freedom.
No.
You go from chattel slavery to convict leasing, basically re-enslaving black men like H through the prison system. Then you see things like housing discrimination later on, the economic struggles Willie faces.
It connects the dots.
Exactly. It shows, as one analysis put it, the connections they have to the struggles in the black community across all these different eras. It highlights how persistent and adaptable these systems of oppression really were, and arguably still are.
Yeah. That continuity is chilling.
And tied into that is how the book deals with history itself. Whose story gets told.
Right. There's that great quote from one of the characters.
Yes. When you study history, you must always ask yourself, whose story am I missing? Whose voice was suppressed so that this voice could come forth?
Such a powerful question.
It really is. It gets right to the heart of how history is often written by the victors or the powerful, erasing the experiences of the oppressed. Gyasi is deliberately trying to recover and voice those suppressed stories.
And she doesn't simplify things either. The book tackles the complicity aspect quite directly, doesn't it? That some Africans participated in the trade.
Absolutely. It's a complex, often uncomfortable examination. It avoids painting Africa as just a victim, showing that, yes, some Africans were involved in capturing and selling other Africans.
Which is a difficult truth.
It is. But by showing this, Gyasi gives agentive role to Africans as being part of their own predicament, as one scholar noted. It avoids a simplistic narrative, while still being crystal clear about the devastating overall system imposed by European colonialism and the demand for slaves. It adds a layer of complexity without diminishing the tragedy.
So it connects that history very directly to ongoing issues.
Definitely. It draws clear lines from those historical injustices to problems we still see today. The book powerfully argues, through its narrative, how the institutions put in place by white culture have historically failed African Americans and Africans alike. That legacy of systemic failure, from convict leasing to redlining to economic inequality, it shows how the past isn't really past.
And critics certainly recognize the power of this book. The acclaim was huge.
But overwhelmingly positive. For a debut novel, it was extraordinary. Yaa Gyasi won the National Book Critics Circle's John Leonard Award, the Ben Hemingway Award, the American Book Award. Just incredible achievements.
And wasn't there that quote from Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Yes, he summed it up perfectly. What happens when you pair a gifted literary mind to an epic task? High praise and deserved. It landed on tons of best of the year lists, Time Magazine included it, and it's being taught now, right? Like at Stanford.
Yeah, it was assigned reading for all freshmen at Stanford one year, which says a lot about its significance.
And thinking bigger picture, it's a really important contribution to, like, diasporal studies, understanding the connections and separations between Africa and America.
How so?
Well, by tracing these two lines across continents for centuries, it shows how colonialism and slavery forged these lasting, painful connections, even as they ripped families apart. It gives you this really powerful transnational perspective on the Black experience.
Which brings us back to that ending, the reunion.
Yes, the culmination. Marcus and Marjorie, descendants of EC and Effia, completely unaware of their connection, travel to Ghana together. They visit Cape Coast Castle.
That must have been intense for them.
Incredibly. And then there's that final, deeply symbolic moment by the ocean. Marjorie gives Marcus the black stone pendant, the one passed down Effia's line.
Reuniting the family heirloom, reuniting the lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Symbolically bringing those two branches of the family back together after centuries of separation and silence.
So, what's the final takeaway then? What does it leave you thinking about?
Well, I think the book leaves you with some big questions. Can people ever truly escape their history? Or are we inevitably shaped by the traumas and choices of our ancestors?
Heavy questions.
They are. But that final reunion, it suggests maybe there is a possibility for healing. But it seems to imply that healing can only really happen through acknowledging that past, through understanding it, and through reconnecting with that shared, however painful, history.
It makes you really consider the weight people carry, doesn't it? The things unseen.
Definitely. And the power maybe of finding those connections, even generations later.
So if you found this discussion insightful and want to explore more complex books and ideas, remember to check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. It's all about that AI-driven analysis fostering reflection.
And you can find more conversations like this one on our podcast, By Our Eyes, as well.
Lots to explore.
Absolutely. And click the link on screen for the in-depth book analysis of Homegoing.
Subscribe, share, purchase via link, and always think critically.